Biafra, historical context, and current demands for independence. The quest for Biafran independence is rooted in a complex historical context that dates back to the colonial era. The region known as Biafra primarily corresponds to the southeastern part of Nigeria, predominantly inhabited by the Igbo ethnic group. Following Nigeria's independence from British colonial rule in 1960, tensions arose among various ethnic groups, particularly between the Igbo, Hausa Fulani, and Yoruba peoples. The political landscape was marked by ethnic favoritism and competition for power, which exacerbated regional disparities. The situation escalated after a series of coups in the 1960s, culminating in widespread violence against the Igbo people, particularly during the anti-Igbo pogroms in northern Nigeria. This violence led to a mass exodus of Igbos back to their homeland. In response to these events, Colonel Odumegwu Ojukwu declared the independence of the Republic of Biafra on May 30, 1967. This declaration sparked the Nigerian Civil War, 1967 to 1970, also known as the Biafran War, which resulted in significant loss of life and humanitarian crises due to famine and conflict. Ethnic marginalization. Many Biafrans feel marginalized within Nigeria's political framework. They argue that successive Nigerian governments have systematically excluded them from key political positions and economic opportunities. This sense of exclusion has fueled calls for self-determination. Economic disparities. The southeastern region is rich in resources, but has historically received less investment compared to other regions like Lagos or Abuja. Many Biafrans believe that an independent state would allow them to harness their resources more effectively for local development. Cultural identity. There is a strong desire among many Igbos to preserve their cultural identity and autonomy. They view independence as a means to protect their language, traditions, and way of life from what they perceive as cultural assimilation into a larger Nigerian identity. Historical grievances. The legacy of the Nigerian Civil War continues to resonate deeply within Biafran society. Many families still bear scars from the conflict and subsequent neglect during post-war reconstruction efforts. Political activism. Groups such as the Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, have emerged as vocal advocates for secession through peaceful protests and social media campaigns. Their activism has garnered international attention, but has also led to crackdowns by Nigerian authorities. The colonial history of Nigeria plays a crucial role in understanding contemporary issues surrounding Biafra's independence movement. British colonial policies favored certain ethnic groups over others, creating divisions that persist today. The amalgamation of diverse ethnic groups into one nation without adequate consideration for their distinct identities laid the groundwork for future conflicts. Colonial masters often employed divide-and-rule tactics that exacerbated tensions among different groups. This legacy continues to influence inter-ethnic relations in Nigeria today. As such, many Biafrans view their struggle not only as a fight against current Nigerian governance but also as a continuation of resistance against historical injustices rooted in colonialism. The opposition faced by Biafrans seeking independence primarily comes from two sources. Majority ethnic groups. The Hausa Fulani and Yoruba tribes dominate Nigeria's political landscape and often perceive calls for secession as threats to national unity and stability. They fear that granting independence could lead to further fragmentation within Nigeria, potentially encouraging other ethnic groups with similar grievances to pursue secessionist agendas. Government response. The Nigerian government has historically responded with military force against separatist movements like IPOB, viewing them as insurgencies rather than legitimate political movements. This heavy-handed approach includes arrests, intimidation tactics, and restrictions on freedom of expression, actions aimed at silencing dissenting voices advocating for Biafran independence. In summary, the insistence on breaking away stems from deep-seated historical grievances related to marginalization, economic disparities, cultural identity preservation, and ongoing political activism within an environment shaped by colonial legacies and majority opposition.